basis of a chilling urban legend. The story goes that anyone who took a piece of the wreckage from Little Bastard was doomed to suffer a horrific fate, usually in a car accident of their own. Mechanics, fans, and even curious onlookers who dared to claim parts of the car, an engine, a tire, a seat, found themselves drawn into a web of death and destruction. One by one, those who tampered with the wreck met violent ends, often in accidents eerily similar to Dean's. The curse didn't stop there. The wreckage itself seemed to carry an unrelenting evil. The car, after being sold and resold, was involved in a series of deadly accidents, claiming the lives of those who came too close. In 1959, the car mysteriously vanished from a garage in Los Angeles, further adding to its legend. Some believe it disappeared entirely, as though it had been swallowed by the earth, or worse, taken by a force that would never let it rest. The Little Bastard seemed to be a malevolent entity, a dark force that claimed anyone unfortunate enough to come into contact with it. The story of the cursed Porsche lives on, a reminder that some tragedies do not simply fade with time. They become warnings, lingering in the shadows, waiting to claim the next victim. If you ever encounter Little Bastard, don't touch it. The curse is waiting. On the dark, mist-shrouded waters of the Platte River, there drifts a ship that should not exist, a ghostly vessel known as the Death Ship. First sighted in the mid-1800s, this eerie apparition has haunted the stretch between Alcova and Torrington, Wyoming, ever since. The ship, unnaturally gray and spectral, glides silently across the river's surface, its sails billowing in the windless air, as though propelled by something far more sinister than the breeze. But it's the crew that truly chills the soul. The sailors aboard the Death Ship are no men at all. They are phantoms, pale, hollow-eyed figures who stand motionless on deck, their faces twisted in eternal suffering. They move with an unnatural jerking motion, as though bound by some cruel force that will never allow them peace. No one has ever heard them speak, nor seen them react to the world around them. They simply drift, forever trapped on their cursed vessel. Locals speak of the ship's appearance as a death omen. Those who have witnessed it often report a sense of overwhelming dread, as if the ship is drawing them closer to the grave. Some claim that if you stare too long at the ghostly ship, it will come for you, its crew reaching out, cold hands grasping for your soul. Many who have ventured near the river never return, their fates lost to the Death Ship's eternal voyage. Once you see it, you may never leave the river alive. In the shadowed corners of Maple Hill Park, Alabama, lies a playground drenched in death and sorrow, known as the Dead Children's Playground. It sits next to the Maple Hill Cemetery, a final resting place for dozens of children who perished during the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918. Their spirits, restless and angry, are said to haunt the swings and slides, forever trapped between life and death. Late at night, when the moon casts long shadows across the park, eerie sounds can be heard. The creak of the swing sets moving without wind, something, someone is watching you from the darkness. Those brave enough to visit the playground claim to see the swings moving on their own, as if pushed by invisible hands. Others have reported hearing the soft, disembodied whispers of children pleading to be heard. But it's not just the sounds that unsettle those who dare to linger. Some have felt a tug on their clothing, a cold hand brushing against their skin, as if the lost children of Maple Hill are reaching out for company, forever seeking the warmth of life they lost so long ago. If you hear their voices, you may never leave the playground, and perhaps you may never want to. In the desolate, windswept landscape of Escalante, petrified forest, something ancient and malevolent stirs beneath the earth, a curse that punishes those who dare to disturb the long-dead remnants of a forgotten world. It is said that if you take even a single shard of petrified wood from the park, you will unleash a chain of misfortune so vile it will haunt you for life. The curse of Escalante is not one to be taken lightly. Those who have taken the petrified wood, some with the best of intentions, have returned home to a life shattered by calamity, job losses, sickness, car accidents. These are the least of the horrors that befall those who steal from the ancient forest. Many have reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread the moment they lay a hand on the wood, as if something unseen but terribly powerful is watching, waiting. As the legend goes, the spirits of the forest, the souls of those who once walked the earth, guard the petrified trees with an unrelenting fury. They have cursed the land, and anyone who dares to desecrate it will suffer until the stolen wood is returned. Those who ignore the warning find themselves spiraling into a nightmare of misfortune and despair. The air is thick with tension in Escalante, and if you ever find yourself there, beware. Touch the wood, and the curse will find you slowly, surely, and with no mercy. Deep in the dense, shadowy forests of Mexico lurk the Chinecks, small, sinister beings of Aztec mythology, creatures twisted by the ancient secrets of the underworld, known as guardians of the wild. These entities are said to protect mountains and creatures, but their methods are anything but gentle. Those who wander too far into their realm often find themselves lost, surrounded by the whispering shadows of these creatures, who watch with dark, gleaming eyes. The Shenekes appear as tiny men and women, but don't let their size fool you. They are as ancient as the mountains themselves, with wrinkled faces that twist into sly, knowing smiles, and voices that mimic the sounds of the forest. Leaves rustling, branches cracking, animals calling. They're often spotted just out of reach, watching intruders with a curious, malevolent gaze. And if you catch a glimpse of them, it's already too late. Legend has it that the Sheneks guard their sacred lands with ruthless cunning. If they catch you trespassing, they'll trap you in their twisted labyrinth of roots and shadows, luring you deeper and deeper until you're utterly lost. And for those unfortunate enough to cross their path directly, the Sheneks are said to steal a part of your spirit, leaving you hollow, haunted, a mere shadow of your former self. Some who have encountered the Sheneks return, but they're never quite the same. They speak of hearing eerie laughter that echoes in their minds, seeing flashes of tiny figures darting through the corner of their vision, and they always warn, never stray too deep into the forest. The Shenekes are watching, guarding, waiting, for they are the keepers of the wild, and their spirits hunger for any who dare to disturb their domain. In the dead silence of the night, a woman returned home to an eerie sight. Her loyal Doberman, gasping and choking, its powerful body convulsing on the floor. Panic surged as she knelt by her faithful pet, its eyes wide with desperation, pawing frantically at its throat. She wrestled with its jaws, struggling to dislodge whatever was caught. Finally, with a sickening pull, she freed a grotesque object, a severed, bloodied human finger. Horrified, she quickly dialed the vet, explaining in broken words the disturbing discovery. "Get here now," she urged, barely able to suppress the terror building inside her. Leaving her Doberman with the vet, she returned home, shaken but grateful her dog had survived the encounter. Yet as she walked into her darkened living room, a sudden chill ran down her spine. Her skin prickled as if she was being watched. Then came a soft, almost imperceptible sound. Something dragging across the floor, moving closer. She reached for her phone, heart pounding, and dialed the police, whispering her fears into the receiver. When the officers arrived, they searched the house. In the shadows of her bedroom closet, they found him, a man crouched and clutching his bleeding hand, his face twisted in rage and pain, his gaze wild. Her Doberman had done more than just protect. It had bitten clean through the intruder's fingers, forcing him into hiding as he bled out in her own home, lurking only feet away. As they hauled the intruder away, the woman shivered, realizing how close she had been to unspeakable horror. Her brave Doberman had saved her life, but the chilling reminder of those bloodied fingers, a haunting trophy of terror, would forever linger in her memory. the shadowed alleys of Greenock, Scotland, lurks a figure known only as the Catman, a creature half hidden in mystery and spine-chilling whispers. Since the 1970s, stories of this eerie figure have crept through the town, haunting those who hear them. They say he moves like a ghost, a filthy, gaunt figure with wild eyes that gleam with something both human and unearthly. His hands, calloused and dirt-streaked, reach out to catch his prey, rats, which he devours with chilling primal hunger, blood staining his fingers and lips. But it's not only his taste for rats that stirs terror. The legend claims he lives among wild cats, moving silently alongside them as though he were one of their own. The cats accept him, even protect him, slinking through the shadows as his ghostly guardians. Locals swear that on quiet nights, you can see him crouched low, his face barely visible in the dim light, with wild cats prowling around him in a tight, watchful circle. Rumors say that if you lock eyes with the Catman, you'll feel an unnatural chill, as if he's peering into your soul. Some claim he was once a normal man, driven mad and feral by a life of solitude, or perhaps a restless spirit bound to Greenock streets. Many who have dared to approach him in those dark alleyways have quickly turned back, too shaken by his hollow gaze, feeling the weight of something ancient and unbroken. To this day, people pass the alleys of Greenock with hushed steps, casting wary glances into the darkness, knowing the Catman might be watching, his eyes glinting in the night, waiting, forever lingering in the shadows, more ghost than man, bound to the darkness alongside his feline companions. In the haunting folklore of the colour culture, there lurks a terrifying creature known as the Boo Hag, said to be an evil spirit denied rest after death. The Boo Hag is no ordinary ghost. It is a twisted, skinless being, its flesh raw and red, moving like liquid shadow under the cover of night. Devoid of its own skin, the Boo Hag preys on the unsuspecting, slipping into homes unseen, driven by an insatiable thirst for life. Boo Hags are known for one particularly sinister trick. They borrow the skin of the living. When night falls, they seek out their victims, crawling into bedrooms as silent as death itself. The hag hovers over the sleeping, choosing its prey with an unholy patience. When it finds its victim, it peels away their skin, wearing it like a grotesque disguise. In this borrowed skin, the Boo Hag goes out to ride, blending among people by day, feeding off the energy of the living to sustain its unnatural existence. For those haunted by the Boo Hag, waking up is no relief. The hag's touch drains vitality, leaving victims weak, their skin pale, as if life itself has been siphoned away. Some survivors report waking with an inexplicable sense of dread, their bed sheets soaked with sweat and a lingering feeling that something had been there, watching, hungry. But the Boo Hag has
has weaknesses, and the colour people share warnings for protection. To keep a boo hag at bay, one should leave a broom by the door or scatter salt or rice. They say the hag is compelled to count every grain, becoming so obsessed with the task that it loses track of time and must flee before dawn. If caught in daylight, the boo hag is trapped, unable to return to its lair before the sun's purifying light burns it away. The most terrifying warning, though, is this. If you wake in the night, feeling short of breath, and sense a shadow hovering close, don't move. Don't open your eyes. The boo hag knows when it's been discovered, and if it feels threatened, it won't hesitate to silence its victim forever, pulling them into a world of endless darkness. To this day, the colour people whisper of boo hags, urging caution to all who dare listen. For the boo hag is always seeking, always waiting for its next ride, its hollow eyes ever watchful, its red, skinless body creeping through the shadows in search of fresh skin. So, as night falls, be wary, because once the boo hag finds you, escaping its grasp may be impossible. In the eerie, silent halls of Raynham Hall in Norfolk, England, a chilling figure is said to linger. The Brown Lady, a ghostly apparition clad in a faded brown gown. She drifts through the darkened corridors, her presence felt in the sudden chill that fills the room, a sensation so bone deep it leaves an icy imprint on the soul of anyone who crosses her path. For centuries, tales of her restless spirit have haunted Raynham Hall, each story more spine-chilling than the last. The Brown Lady is believed to be Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose tragic end left her spirit bound to the hall. The story goes that she was locked away by her jealous husband, condemned to spend her days alone, and she eventually succumbed to despair and illness, her life extinguished within those very walls. Now her tormented soul lingers, forever roaming the home she could never leave in life. Witnesses describe her appearance as both beautiful and terrifying. She glides through the halls with an ethereal grace, her hollow eyes sunken and empty, her face twisted in a mournful expression. It is said, her eyes are nothing but dark voids, empty of life, drawing those who meet her gaze into an endless sorrow. Her brown dress, old-fashioned and tattered, seems almost to meld with the shadows, making her a faint, flickering figure who vanishes as suddenly as she appears. One of the most infamous sightings occurred in 1936, when photographers from Country Life magazine captured a hazy, spectral figure descending the grand staircase. The photograph, grainy and eerie, shows her drifting down the stairs, her form nearly translucent yet unmistakable. This image became one of the most well-known ghost photographs in history, cementing the Brown Lady's terrifying legend. Visitors and staff at Raynham Hall still report encounters with her cold, haunting presence, footsteps are heard when no one is there. Some say that late at night, a faint figure can be seen moving slowly down the staircase, her shadowy form slipping away before she reaches the bottom, as if forever trapped in a sorrowful descent. The legend of the Brown Lady endures, a chilling reminder of loss and entrapment. Those who dare to visit Raynham Hall are warned to be vigilant, for a glimpse of her ghostly form is enough to haunt them for a lifetime. In the heart of Iowa City's Oakland Cemetery stands a figure cloaked in darkness and mystery, the Black Angel, a towering bronze statue that looms over the grave of Teresa Feldwert. Erected in mourning, the angel's darkened form and unsettling gaze quickly became the source of fearful whispers. Legend says she is cursed, a silent harbinger of death, watching and waiting for those who dare to defy her silent warning. By day, the statue is imposing, her massive wings stretching wide, casting shadows over the graves below. But as night falls, her presence shifts from solemn to sinister. Those who have dared to visit her after dark claim to feel an intense, bone-chilling cold radiate from the statue, as if death itself were reaching out. They say that anyone who dares touch the angel at midnight will suffer misfortune, illness, or worse, death within days. Some claim to have seen her eyes glow faintly, an unnatural, haunting light that pierces through the fog, as if the angel herself is peering into the souls of those nearby. A few witnesses swear that her wings have moved, rustling slightly, and her hands seem to reach out, fingers stiff yet desperate, as if she longs to pull the living into her cold, stone embrace. Teenagers once dared to kiss the feet of the angel, testing her rumoured curse, but tragedy followed. Accidents, inexplicable illnesses, and even untimely deaths plagued those who tried to defy her legend. Her presence, they say, is more than mere stone. It is a shadow of sorrow and vengeance, eternally bound to the cemetery. Today, locals avoid the Black Angel at night, believing she still harbours a dark power, and if you stand before her, feeling her hollow gaze settle upon you, remember, her curse awaits anyone brave or foolish enough to challenge her. In the shadowed woods near Leicestershire, a creature of nightmare prowls, Black Annis, the dreaded blue-faced hag. Cloaked in darkness, her gnarled face is stained a haunting shade of blue, her iron claws gleaming with a terrifying sharpness. hours of hunting in the dead of night. Children and townsfolk alike know the tales of her hunger, a twisted craving for human flesh that sends shivers through the village. Black Annie's hides in a cave carved from the rocks by her own jagged claws, a lair littered with the remains of her grisly feasts. Animal bones, and some say human bones, line the ground, while the chilling stench of decay fills the air. As dusk falls, she slinks from her den, her clawed hands scratching along tree trunks, leaving deep gouges in the bark. Her piercing eyes, dark and unforgiving, scan the surroundings, searching, waiting. She has a particular taste for children, her long, spindly fingers reaching out to snatch any who wander too close to the edge of the woods. Many parents tell their children tales of Black Annie's, warning them not to stray after dark, lest they become her next victim. They say she hides beneath beds or crouches outside windows, her twisted grin visible just beyond the glass, savouring the fear of those trapped inside. Sometimes villagers claim to hear her unearthly wails in the wind, a bone-chilling howl that pierces the night. They say it's her call, a twisted lullaby that drags the unwary toward her grasp. On moonless nights, her figure can be seen creeping through the shadows, her blue face glowing faintly, iron claws poised to strike. Today, the legend of Black Annie's still haunts the children of Leicestershire, a ghastly spectre lurking at the edge of nightmares, waiting to snatch anyone who dares defy the tales of her insatiable hunger.
Late one stormy night, a teenage babysitter named Sarah sat alone in the darkened house, listening to the quiet breaths of the children sleeping upstairs. The air was thick with silence, only broken by occasional creaks echoing through the empty hallways. Suddenly, the phone rang, slicing through the silence like a knife. She jumped, her heart pounding as she answered. A low, gravelly voice whispered, "Have you checked the children?" Startled, Sarah shook off the unease, assuming it was a prank call. But the phone rang again, the same voice repeating, chillingly deliberate, "Have you checked the children?" An icy dread seeped into her bones. She slammed the phone down, but the relentless calls persisted, each one taunting her, each one making her feel more trapped, more exposed. Finally, she dialed the police, and they promised to trace the next call. Moments later, the phone rang. She picked up, and the whisper came again, "Check the children." The line clicked. Then the police came through urgently. "Get out of the house. The call is coming from inside." A scream caught in her throat as she bolted for the door, but a shadow loomed at the top of the stairs, watching. In that moment, Sarah realized she wasn't alone. The door creaked open just an inch, her only escape blocked by the flickering figure that descended, step by slow, ominous step.
Alexandria's genesis, a mutation whispered about on dark corners of the internet, a genetic gift or perhaps a curse that transforms its carriers into something almost beyond human. Those with this mutation are said to possess eyes of an unnatural shade, a deep, almost glowing violet that seems to pierce through your very soul. These eyes are not merely beautiful, they hold an ancient knowledge, something that feels off, something that hints at a reality beyond what we understand. The carrier's skin is pale, almost shimmering, as if reflecting moonlight, and they lack the imperfections of humanity. No body hairs, no aging spots, nothing but flawless, smooth skin that remains untouched by time. For women, there is no menstruation, but they remain fertile, a cruel and paradoxical defiance of the natural world. It's said that those who have seen them can't shake the feeling that there is something distinctly cold about their presence, a detachment from the world that makes them seem almost spectral. There are those who claim to have met someone with Alexandria's genesis. They describe encounters with people who seem ageless, their eyes too intense, their manner too calm, as if they were only pretending to be human. Rumors say they live for centuries, watching silently as the world changes around them, untouched by the march of time, their violet eyes betraying no hint of emotion. The real fear is in the unknown, what they want, why they hide, and how many there are. When you stare into their violet eyes, you might feel it, the unsettling sensation that you're not looking at a person, but at something